Benjamin, tell me, your father, Frank Bowling, did he ever have the temptation of coming to Paris? Because now there's this Paris Noir exhibition, and I was wondering if he happened to know Bob Thompson, Beaufort de l'Année, and if he was tempted by coming to this kind of community in Paris.
Yeah, okay. Well, the first thing to say, he did travel to Paris for the first time in 1956 when he wanted to study literature. He then went to art school in London, and London always felt like home to him. He then maintained from 1966 until today a studio in London and in New York City. He visited Paris on many occasions. We have photos of him at the Pompidou in 1977. But I think the challenge of having a studio in a third city was too much for him. For sure, he would have loved to have shown in Paris. And he did know, I'm sure, pretty certain he knew Bob Thompson. There are a few of the other artists in the Paris Noir show that he was familiar with. He certainly would know the work of Beaufort de l'Année. He knew, there's a number of people that he was aware of. And I think, for him, Paris was always an important art centre. But I think the challenge of opening a studio in Paris as well as London and New York, bearing in mind that he lived in poverty most of his life, right? Because he didn't have commercial representation in England until, I think, 2005.
Wow.
This is his first solo presentation in Paris, right?
But I was wondering if, when he was in New York, he was feeling comfortable, because people like Beaufort de l'Année needed to really escape from this background.
Yeah.
So how was he feeling himself in New York?
It's a very good question. So first thing to say is that my father escaped from Guyana in 1953, where it was very, very restrictive, to become a poet, and he discovered art in England. Trained in England, he did find England very constraining. But I think being an émigré in New York, finding himself in a community of black artists who are African American, I think for him, being a West Indian and being British gave him a freedom of movement and an ability to make and find his way in the United States of America in a way which he found impossible in Britain. Would he have thrived in Paris? Maybe. And he certainly thrived in New York.
So he had a special statute in a way when he was as a British citizen in America.
I think being British and being West Indian allowed him a certain kind of freedom. Bear in mind also, I think that because he found Britain very, very constraining, there's no doubt, he doesn't talk about it very much, but it was a country where his opportunities were restricted because of his skin tone, for sure. He was told by a famous curator, Britain is not yet ready for a gifted artist of colour.
Wow.
He knew,
by who? What kind of curator?
It was a senior curator, I can't remember his name.
Okay, luckily for him.
An important person. And I think that when he got to New York, he met people like Clement Greenberg, who said, Frank, in New York, anything is possible. You can follow your artistic vision, and he was able to do that. Found a community in New York. He still has a loft in New York even to today, and I think that he thrived in that city. Would he have loved to be in Paris? Well, yes, and he's coming today. He'll be here in Paris.
Welcome to Paris.
Merci bien.
Merci.
Merci.